Hello, hello, good afternoon. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Saturday 5 p.m. demo at the Dive Right In online crop. Pardon me. Ah, frogs in my throat. Gotta love it. We are going to be exploring under the ocean today. We're going to meet some ocean friends. We're diving right in, just like our crop says. Let's take a look in the catalog to show you the lovely stamp and die set that we're going to use. You'll find it on page 60, and it's called Friendly Fins. It's a really cute stamp set. So there's stamps and dies, and I got the bundle, so I have dies. Now, normally, you know me, I don't buy stamps and dies if the dies just cut out the stamped images. Not usually, but when the dies cut out some other things, which you're going to see today, some of them, that aren't just the stamped images, that's when I get my dies. And then we're also going to be using some of that lovely Full of Life DSP, 6x6 DSP on our project as well. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can say replay. I see my mom is here and Heather is here. Good afternoon. It's almost evening, 5 o'clock. Usually we do our demos at 3:30, but with schedules and things, it was just easier to set it for 5 o'clock this time instead of trying to go back and forth between times. So we're going to take a look at the Friendly Fins stamp set. And in this set, there are 4 different sea animals or ocean animals. We've got a hammerhead shark. We've got a stingray. We have a dolphin, and we have some fun little fishes here. And then, of course, there's a little bit of rocks and coral. Thanks for everything. Here's to you, my friend. Happy birthday. Make a splash. So we're going to be using those stamps. We're also going to be using the dies. And the dies for this collection have all the bits that cut out all those critters that we just saw. But then there's also this lovely coral arch. There's some bubbles. There's some seaweed. There's some rocks and rubble. There's another different kind of coral. There are sea plants of some kind. There's a little lobster, another fish, a shell, and a couple other little fishes down here. So there's lots of extra pieces in this die set that I just couldn't resist. We're also going to be using the Stylish Shapes dies, and we're going to be using the Nested Essentials dies. Let me just pull those ones out so you can see. I didn't turn those ones around backwards. Oh, gotta go this way. There we go. Our Nested Essentials dies that have the banners, the rounded rectangles, and then this fun shape. And it's this shape that we're going to use, and we're going to use the largest one. So I'm going to get that out and ready to go. Just kind of move everything off to the side here. Okay, the first step that we need to do is we need to do some stamping. So I've got a piece of white cardstock here, and we're going to start with our shark. Why not? Apex predator. Let's start with a shark. So we're going to use our Tuxedo Black Memento ink to first stamp the outline. So these stamps for these sea creatures are all 2-layer stamps. So the first one, let me just ink it up, will stamp out the outline of our shark. Okay? And while we're at it, whoops, knocking things over, let's also stamp our little fishes like that. And, oh, I didn't get out the stingray. We'll do the stingray in a minute. No, let's get them out now. Let's grab them now. There's our little outline for our stingray. Always when you're taking your stamps off a carrier sheet. Make sure you walk them off gently. And I don't have a proper sized block going on for this one, so we're gonna use a really big block. We're gonna make sure it's seasoned. We're gonna ink it up, and we're gonna stamp it. There we go. Now I'm going to get a scrap piece of cardstock. It's just hanging out in my drawer. I always put all my scrappy bits of cardstock in my drawer beside me. Now that we have stamped these with the outline, we're going to fill them in. And I have discovered that when because we're going to do some generation stamping, first and second generation. And when I do that, yes, I could stamp off onto scrap paper, but I find the quality of the ink and the quality of the generations is better if you stamp off onto cardstock. So, you can make a fun design on your cardstock if you want with all that extra ink that's going to get stamped off on it. But always use cardstock. Smoky Slate, we're going to use this for our little shark. So I've got the second layer here, and this is going to give us all the gray bits of our shark. Turn it sideways. We're going to ink it up. And my shark, I want it to be a little bit lighter in color. So I'm going to actually stamp it off, and then I'm going to come in. Hopefully I'm still on the screen there. And I'm going to stamp onto my shark. So you see how dark my first generation stamping was on my scrap piece over here, this left one. And then you see how light the color is on the second generation. And that looks good. I like that. That looks kind of like a hammerhead shark color. That's what we're going for. All right, for our stingray, let me just grab this one. Now, normally I would wash that before I moved it, but let's bring in the second layer for our stingray. Now our stingray, I want it to actually be darker. I'm going to use this same color because I can do that with generation stamping, because my shark and my stingray are still going to look different. So I'm going to just ink this up, make sure I got good coverage, and I'm going to have to scooch close to myself because I have to line it up within the lines, hopefully. And it's hard already because I'm off the side, because I'm not sitting right in front. Yeah, I'm a little bit off. But you can see now what the difference is between those two colors, right? One is definitely darker, and that looks really good on my stingray. Okay, so for the last little guys here, these little fishes, we're going to switch colors because I don't want these little fishes to just be gray. What am I doing wrong here? I've forgotten how to close the thing. Let me just, there we go. It's the sliding. That's what I'm missing. I just had a complete brain fart and forgot how to close my ink pad. There are just days like that, aren't there? Hey, Michelle. Mary's here too. Good afternoon. So we're going to take our little fishes. This is the second layer. And again, let me just show you this Cajun Craze is a very dark color. Okay, that's very dark. And if I stamped that darkness on these little fishes, you'd never see the detail. So I'm going to ink it again, but I'm going to stamp off again. And then I'm going to come over here, line up with my little fishes, and stamp my little fishes. So now they're a nice lighter orange color, and they'll really stand out in the ocean. They'll be nice and bright and colorful. Okay, let's close these up. There we go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get our dies, our Friendly Fins dies, and we can go ahead and die cut these. Now, You know me. I would probably just get my scissors and fussy cut these. But because we have the dies, we will use the dies. So let's get a couple little pieces of washi tape here, and I've spaced them out so I can probably do all three at the same time. So let's get our shark. I've got tape stuck to all my fingers now. Line it up. What you want to aim for is having the entire outline in following the shape of the die. And then let's grab our stingray. Come a little closer to myself so I can see what I'm doing. Sometimes it takes just a minute because you kind of gotta seesaw around and make sure you're in the right spot. There's our stingray, and then our little fishes. Little fishies. Mary's like, yep, I would just grab my scissors too. Michelle, I'm glad you have days like that too. There are days, and then there are days, right? Okay. Let's get our die cutting machine. We're going to stick them all in. Frankly, by the time I stick those all down, then run them through, and take them all back off, I probably would have cut at least two, if not all three of them by now. Because, you know, that's just what I'm used to, right? So there we go. We've now die cut our friendly fins. There's our shark, our stingray, and our little fishes. So cute. All right, so let's get started creating some of the coral as well. So on here, we've got this big arch of coral. We're going to create a whole scene. Again, we're making a scene. So we've got this big arch of coral, and I want to use a couple pieces of cardstock that are in colors that remind me of some of the lovely colors under the ocean. And these are from the Subtles collection of colors. And I'm actually pulling my catalog out because I have forgotten their names. We have Petal Pink and Lemon Lolly. So Petal Pink and Lemon Lolly. Don't those sound fun for our friendly fins to be swimming around? So we're going to grab our die cut machine. Now this is something I wouldn't cut out by hand. Not necessarily. So it's nice to have the die. And this is kind of what sold me on the die set. So we're going to cut out some petal, what did we say? Petal Pink. Coral. Just run it through. So that is a lot quicker than fussy cutting some coral. Plus I didn't tape it down even. There we go. We might need a little pokey. Grab our take a pick tool. And there is our first coral. Very cool. Now let's run through with the Lemon Lolly as well. Lemon Lolly. We're also going to be using the Lemon Lolly for another item on our card too. So we have got a scrappy bit here that has lots of space. So if we need to die cut something else, we have room for it. This is why I never throw away these scrappy bits. So even these pieces that have been chopped up, they're going back in the cardstock collection to be used for something else. I'm just poking my, there we go, my coral out. And that's all for the next minute or two. Okay. let's bring in a card base, which I forgot to get out. I've only been prepared for hours and hours, but okay. So let's fold our card base. Now you could obviously do all sorts of amazing things on a layout with these friendly fins. I'm just doing a card because I had a cool idea for a card. So I am going to use a piece of the Full of Life DSP. It's a 6x6 collection. This one happens to be the back side of this one with the rays. And I liked that it had sort of this blend from the shaded spruce going up into the shy shamrock. And it's kind of that greeny, blue, murky underwater kind of look. And I thought it provided a nice contrast against this bright coral, which is, you know, that's what you want, right? A little bit of contrast, a little bit of pop. So this piece has been cut to 5 1/8 by 3 inches because it's exactly half of this piece of pattern paper. Well, it's not exactly half. It's cut in half and then I trim some off. So 5 1/8 by 3 inches. And I'm going to stick it on centered from top to bottom, side to side. And I want the darker bit at the bottom. Okay, so let's see if we can get ourselves in the center. We'll kind of use our Versamat to help us with this. So right about there, and then about that far in. There we go, somewhat centered. And then we're going to come in with our coral, and I just want to kind of get it placed where I think it will go. I want to add some dimensionals to the back of this one. I've actually got two things of dimensionals here. Oh, look at that. I'm being generous. Okay, so we're going to add some dimensionals onto here. I should have grabbed some mini ones, but I didn't. So we'll just chop some of these in half. I don't need every sprig stuck with a dimensional. We just need to kind of cover our bases on this arch. There we go. Okay, I'm not taking the backing off though. What I want to do is I want to kind of set it down here and kind of get a vision of where it's going to go. I'm going to be about 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom, like that, and in the center. Then you think, why do we have two? What are we just going to stick one on top of the other? Not exactly. Because one of the fun things you can do with a die cut is you can go ahead and trim it and use it different ways. So I'm actually going to use this one coming off to the left like this. And let me see, maybe right about there. So I'm just going to go ahead and go snippity snip like that. I'm going to add some adhesive to the back like that. And then we're going to stick it off the left-hand side. We're just going to tuck it right in behind. Make sure that's centered. Tuck it in behind. Have it coming up a little bit higher, like that. Okay, and then we can take this other piece and we can layer it up again, making sure that's in the center. This time we're going to overlap a little bit. We're going to come up like that, so we're going to trim it just past this little sticky up bit, like that. And you can totally change the shape of your dies simply by trimming off bits and by cutting it in half and putting it in different directions. You can totally do that. I'm just taking the backing off. Sorry, I realize I'm off camera. My apologies. Okay, we're going to tuck this one in behind, coming out like that. There we go. Okay, now we can stick down our coral. Made with the lolly, lemon lolly. I like that name, lemon lolly. It's like a tongue twister. Hey Diane, nice to see you're watching. We're creating a scene. We're going underwater. We're kind of making like a little aquarium, actually, is the kind of the look that we're going for. So we're going to stick this down 3/4 of an inch from the bottom, right there. Look at that. We've now created a really fun underwater scene, and we haven't even got our little fishes in there yet. Okay, next step, I want to create a frame to go around and cover up the weird edges and spaces that we've left. So to do that, I've got a piece of the shaded spruce. Took me a second to remember. And this is where I'm going to bring in that shaped die, this nice big elongated hexagon? Hexagon? Yes. And we're going to line it up here on the mat. Am I still in the screen? We're going to line it up on the mat, and we're going to use the mat to help us. We want to get it in the center. So the tip of these should be at about 1 1/4, was approximately where my brain decided was the center. Now, my tape. Put my tape down somewhere. I've got it stuck, so now I gotta tape it down, because I really don't want this to move, because we're not just cutting out the shape. We are cutting out the shape, but I'm not using the shape on this project. I'll save that for something else. On this project, I want the frame. So we want to make sure that it doesn't shift. Let's run it through. Sorry, I think I called this the Stylish Shapes. It's the Nested Essentials dies. The Stylish Shapes have 2 lines of stitching, and they're different shapes. This one has a single line of stitching, and the stitching ends up being on the shape that you cut out. If I can get the tape off. So the shape that you cut out has the stitching. We're saving that for another project. Put our tape up there for next time. And let's move this out of the way. I store mine on the floor. That way it can't fall anywhere. It's already on the floor. All right, so we've created a frame to go around our lovely little coral scene that we've created. And doesn't that look fun? Now what I want to do is I want to bring in some of our friendly little fishes here. And I did go ahead and create some ahead of time. So this little group of fishes, we're going to put some adhesive on there. Take the backing off, like so. And tweezers. Calling all tweezers. There we go. We're going to tuck some little fishes in. We want to have our little fishies tucked in just down here. Like so, like they're just swimming out from behind the coral. And then we're going to get another little group of fishes. We're going to have 3 little groups of these little fishes, because we've got so much space. Have you ever noticed, I don't know if you've noticed, if you've watched any of the videos I've been posting, when the fish are swimming in the ocean, they're in schools. They're all clustered together, and so there's never just one little fish. There's usually a whole cluster of them. So we're going to have a bunch of little fishes swimming around. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to add our frame on here, and I want to add it on with some dimension. So we're going to use the foam adhesive strips to start us out, because we can cut a nice big long strip, and then it'll just run nice and lovely all along the edge, oops, of our frame. Hopefully I flipped that over to the back side. Yes, I did. And let's grab another piece. These adhesive strips are very cool. They also have the ability to kind of bend around a bit. I don't need them to bend around a bit. I made that one too long. That's okay. I think I actually made this one too long and I didn't notice. Going right to the very, very edge. We can just snip a little off. There we go. All right, and now we want to add some foam adhesive on the sides, like that. Grab another strip. This one I'll have to trim. And these are nice and skinny, so even though I have just a little bit of room on the ends, it works. There we go. In fact, that one might have got a little narrower than that end. All right, let's add a little bit up here so that our frame doesn't squish too much in the in-between spaces. This is kind of what happens when you're doing a shaker, and this would actually be really cool as a shaker. I'm not going to do a shaker. That's okay. Let's add a little bit here, and I think that's good. We'll stop fussing with it now. There we go. Hopefully that will be on the inside. Now, yesterday I made one of these so I'd have a visual to look at, and I got this a little off center. So we shall see if I'm any more accurate getting this one on. See if practice helps or not. Taking all the backings off of our foam adhesive strips, and let's see, I might have to bring this closer to myself. I usually do things going from there. I don't know if that will help me at all. The other thing I'm fighting with is new glasses, and it tends to warp things in my line of vision somehow. All right, I'm going to do it upside down. I don't know if that's going to help. Something about this is just unsettling me. We're just going to have to hold our breath and stick it on and hope for the best. I got it a little close to the bottom, but that's okay. We'll survive. We will survive. So now we've got a nice little frame. So we look like we're just kind of peeking into an underworld space, kind of magical. And now we need to add our critters, but I want to add them a little bit different so that we get some sort of pop happening. So I've put just a little bit of adhesive on our shark's tail here. And then I want to grab a dimensional and stick one right up by his snout. I don't know if you call it a snout, his hammerhead. And we are going to have our little shark kind of popping out from behind. You know how in all the movies you're like, oh no, the shark's escaping. That's exactly what we're going to create. We're going to have his little tail coming up like that, his little fin, and then stick him up there. So his tail is stuck down flat to the back of the card. But here we've got a couple layers of foam tape, right? And so he's got like, ooh, he's coming out at us, which I think is fun. Then let's take our little array here and let's add some dimension to him as well. I want the dimension on this wing. We'll call it a wing. I don't know if it's called a wing, but we'll call it that. And we're going to have him kind of gliding along. We'll even have his little tail coming around the corner of our little window. And he's popped up on some foam tape. And then we need our sentiment. So for our sentiment, I used what did I use? I used the one with the little banners, which is called the Stylish Shapes Dies. That's the one that I was trying to say earlier, which was not the one I was using. And I cut out this banner using that lemon lolly. Remember I said I had scraps. We're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment, and we're going to use the Make a Splash sentiment. Make sure we've got it seasoned. We are going to stamp it just with some black ink. Ink it up. And scooching close to myself because I got to try and line it up. There we go. Lovely. Make a splash. I love kind of making very special items. So if you're celebrating somebody, you might as well make them something special. And something like this, where you're not going to make 100. Well, you might make 100 of these, but I'm not going to make 100 of these. But it's something special, something that you've taken time, you've thought about, you've created, and you know, it's just a little something extra, right? You're celebrating somebody. So we're going to put our sentiment, line it up with the bottom, have it kind of just go past that center line. And then let's add our little fishes. And to add these little fishes, I want these little fishes to kind of hang over the edge here. And because we're going to be in front, we're going to need a couple layers of foam tape to do this. So I'm going to take one of these little hexagons. I'm going to trim it in half. And I'm going to stick half behind our little fishes. I'm going to remove the backing. And because we're trying to make 2 layers, we're going to take the other half and we're going to stack it right on top. So we've got 2 half hexagons stacked one on top of the other. That gives us lots of dimension. And then our little fishes can just stack right on there like that. So cute. And then we need some bling. We got to have some bling on this project. So where did I put it? There it is, underneath the dies. We have the iridescent adhesive-backed discs. And these are very flat. They're just little flat circles and so iridescent and sparkly. And so we're going to grab some of these little guys down here. Easy way to do that is with a pick tool. Just lift up, and that kind of grabs the glue dot that's on the back. And then you can lift it up and stick it on wherever you want it. So let's add some blingy bling. There we go. I actually want to move this one a little bit down. There we go. And let's tuck one in here. That makes a nice little trio of bling. Then let's add one up here. Hanging out, little bubble by our shark. I think these look cute because they look like little bubbles. And then we'll add a couple here, like that. And I think that's good. I think that's going to work for me. So there we go. We have created our fun Ocean Friends card, Make a Splash. We started out with just our plain card base, adding on that full of life DSP in the background with that lovely gradient sort of watercolor, which doesn't that work so well with an under the sea kind of look. Then, of course, that die cut using the lemon lolly and the petal pink, I believe, and cutting the one apart and stretching it out so we get a different look with the same die. Then, of course, stamping with those 2 layers, some first and second generation stamping to color our shark and our stingray and our little fishies. Then adding on our frame and having some of our friendly fins coming out and swimming around outside. And just a lot of beautiful dimension on there with the dimensionals. And then our iridescent discs for a little bit of bling. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing it come together. I hope you're inspired to create a card like this of your own using a frame, having some things inside, some things outside. It's reminiscent of the card we made the other day with the circles where we had things stamped, but also things coming outside the circle. And I think that's just kind of fun. It's like when you watch a TV show and they break the fourth wall. And so we're breaking out of the card and having a lot of fun doing it. So if you get inspired to make a card like this, be sure to snap a photo of it, pop it in the comments where I post the pictures of this, and then we can all see and be inspired by your art as well. Have a wonderful rest of the afternoon, and we will be on at 7 o'clock for Chat and Craft. We'll see you then. Toodaloo.